I feel like for the people that really love Disney, this is going to be a fun movie for you. For the rest of us...
Hi, I'm Teresa. Welcome to Cocoon Cast, where we deep dive into movies and discuss all things cinema.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. Today we'll be discussing the new movie, Wish.
Let's get started.
Asha has the once-in-a-lifetime chance to be the new apprentice to King Magnifico, the beloved king of roses, who has the ability to grant wishes. But once Asha gets a peek behind the curtain, she starts to realize the king isn't as benevolent as he appears to be, calling upon the help of a star to free her people from their dependence on Magnifico and allow them to pursue their own dreams.
Rebecca, let's talk about your excitement. Originally, you were thrilled to see this movie.
Aside from the chickens,
Hey, ladies! Your wings can't fly, but your voices can!
which just utterly wrecked the trailer for me, I was really excited to see this movie. I thought the voice cast looked relatively solid. I mean, we have a Academy Award winner on cast. I mean, that's pretty good.
And she's the lead, right?
She's the lead, and she also sings and acts, which is also very nice because I am so happy to see Disney embracing people who can actually sing and do voice acting. It's not so much of a jarring leap, so to speak.
I would agree with that. And we were talking about the evil Magnifico, who is, you know who he is?
Chris Pine.
Yeah, Star Trek Chris Pine.
Yes.
Wonder Woman's little heartthrob.
What you may not realize is Chris has done some singing in the past. Our Spider-Verse fans may remember this, especially the very Spidey Christmas album. And he also did Into the Woods.
I'm laughing. No, I don't remember that. But he did sing, though. He sang actually pretty well. I was actually pretty impressed with him.
I thought he was a very nice counterpoint to Ariana, the main female lead in this film. I thought their tones melded very nicely together in the songs that they duetted.
I would agree with that. And you like both of them.
I love both of them individually.
Oh, wow. That's pretty good.
I think it's interesting to see Chris kind of take this voiceover approach to his career, and I'm really excited to see Ariana try something new for herself.
I would agree with that. And yet...
This movie, oh, I wish it could have gone better.
Oh.
Alan Tudyk cannot save this movie. That's how much I did not like this movie.
Is it the screenplay? Where did you get lost, or were there multiple points that lost you?
It was a medley of points, pardon the expression. I grew up in the Disney Renaissance. That's the late 80s, mid 90s. For some Disney files, it stretches into the early aughts. I grew up in a time period where villains were layered and complex, not whining that their people don't care about them.
Sounds like a psychological, my people don't like me.
And all I really want is just a little respect. And this is the thanks I get.
Well, and I laugh because your favorite Disney movie that I can sing every word to every song.
That's my favorite Disney princess movie.
And tell us what that is.
The Little Mermaid.
The Little Mermaid! That was playing 24/7 in our house. I can play Sebastian. I can be Ariel. I can be Ursula. I can sing them all.
For someone who says they don't like singing, I'm surprised.
Oh my goodness. And I laugh because to me, that's probably your gold standard in some ways of a musical Disney movie. Would you say that's a Five Moth?
That's a 5-month movie. The other gold standard that I consider, and this was voiced as an active influence on the filmmaker's production of Wish,
Yes.
was Sleeping Beauty.
I could see some Sleeping Beauty. I was going to say Frozen Sleeping Beauty. No, she was just sleeping. She wasn't frozen.
You could say she was frozen.
I would say, literally. It felt Frozen-y to me.
Well, and part of the reason for that is Jennifer Lee also did writing for Frozen.
It had that feel to it, and the music as well.
Significantly, a lot of the modern Disney films have been trying to kind of capture that Frozen element. I know Christopher Buck is also one of the directors of Frozen, so he's very prominently featured with his fingerprints all over the production.
And it had that feel to it, but I know Frozen did crazy well. I couldn't even tell you how much they made. But this movie had a $200 million budget. which to me was mind-blowing.
I find that interesting, especially considering when this film was first announced, it was expected to be a 2D traditional animation movie. This was supposed to be the return to 2D animation. We're going to ignore Princess of the Frog. We're going to go with this.
And yet, we saw it in 3D.
Well, and there was 3D CG animation. I assume they're using the same engine that they used for Frozen, that they used for Tangled. I don't have any proof that they did, but it's my guess based on some of the choices that were made in the production.
Well, and you like Tangled a lot. I remember you in the box saw that. I'm not sure if the box is still singing Tangled songs, but I know for you for a while.
Let go, 'cause way down deep inside I've got a dream. He's got a dream.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and you're talking about the screenplay was pretty flat.
Well, even Mother Gothel and Tangled, much more dimension. That was my main problem with this film. It felt like an exercise somebody would do. Say you want to write a Disney film. This is what you have to have in a Disney film in order to feel like a Disney film.
Let's talk about that, because to me, this felt closer to a more traditional Disney film than I've seen in a very long time.
And I can understand that there's a lot of character choices that were made. Asha is the primary focal point, but a lot of times when I talk to Disney fans, they tend to separate the princesses into two categories. There's the moral role models, and there's the physical role models that do things that are worth emulating, not emotional characteristics worth emulating. Asha feels a lot closer to the former, which is where you have characters like Snow White come in.
That's fascinating. I had no idea that they would divide them up that way, but it does make sense. And she felt pretty multi-dimensional. I know you were saying magnifico. I can't even say it.
Magnifico.
Magnifico was pretty shallow.
You are their handsomest, most beloved king.
You're right. I am a handsome king.
But I think that was by design.
Sadly, I agree with you.
He's a one-note, narcissistic king who wants to keep everybody's wishes to himself.
Someone praise me for my benevolence!
Because that's what you have to do when you're evil.
The other thing I was disappointed with the screenplay is it left me with many more questions than answers. And a lot of these questions...
I'm laughing. It left you with questions like how goats talk.
I'm talking. I am talking. Ha! Who knew my voice would be this low?
And stars magically appear.
And the star answered.
Or other questions.
Oh, Star was
More
cute.
existential questions.
Well, if I have to watch a film for kids, and I'm not saying if I have to watch a film for kids, I'm saying if I have to watch a film for kids, I have to consider the childlike audience. And for me, motivation is key. Asha's motivation is simple. She wants everybody to be happy.
Correct. And they identify that as she's a good person. For her to challenge the evil king, not knowing that he's as evil as he is, he becomes more evil. And
It's definitely a gradual unfolding. I know the trailer has kind of hinted at it, and one of the lead animators, I don't remember which one, sadly. I was on X, and they said, I wish people would give this movie more of a chance because it's about how the wishing star came to be. And I think that hook is one of the things that sold me on this movie. That being said, I feel like these characters need more than hooks. They need more than lines to bait. They need things that will back them up when you're introducing them, not just these one-off hints I see in the songs.
let's talk about the songs, because
I was not impressed with the
I
music.
was gonna say let's talk about that. I enjoyed them, but one of the statements I know on the way back to the studio was they weren't memorable. The first song, or the
I Want song.
the I Want song, you loved.
Yes, I thought the arrangement on the main title song, Wish, you hear a small sample of it in the trailer. Mm-hmm. I thought that was really well done.
I would agree with that. And I don't think it's lack of talent singing.
No.
It sounds
Everybody
like the
on
lyrics.
this production is wildly talented.
Absolutely. And that sold me, because I'm thinking, not how bad could it be?
My butt found it.
I know, right? Based on how you were feeling.
Yeah.
It's just, I had such high hopes for it. I do believe I liked it considerably more than you did.
I know for a fact you like it considerably more than I did, because when we were on the way back to the studio, you and I were mentioning certain things to each other to see if certain things landed to each other.
And I think they landed for me, meaning the story I liked. The star, I was a little disappointed that the star did not...
It felt like a living MacGuffin to me. That was my big quibble with it. It's the cutest living MacGuffin I've seen in a while.
I thought he was cute, and he served the purpose.
Yeah, I felt like it was just, it's really good. They're probably going to sell a lot of merch of it. I will probably end up getting a plushie.
I know, right? Me too.
Something about this movie, and the sad thing is, I don't think it was any part of lack of passion, so to speak.
That's a fair piece, meaning there's a lot of passion behind it. But if there's, as you said, there's not the substance behind it, or there's not the depth that you want. I know one comment you had made coming back to the studio was the lyrics. You were dissatisfied with that. But can you say more about the one-dimensional parts about the characters?
There's one scene, and it's literally like 15 seconds, where you see Magnifico describe this inconsolable loss that created this hole in his life that would contribute to some character development. Instead, it's almost brushed aside. It's just for 5 seconds he talks about it. And I understand the law of conservation when it comes to script, but when you want your audience to feel for your character, especially when they're making an arguably controversial decision in this world, I feel like you need to give it more depth. You need to give it more oomph. I gave the example when we were coming back to the studio of Scar. You see how Scar is tossed aside by his family in The Lion King. You see how he believes he can be better, and then he makes steps to become the king and, you know, murder Mufasa. But
that's one solution.
That's one solution, but it's his solution. And I feel like with Magnifico, I only saw the end result of all of these years of pain. I saw basically the last straw in one song.
Yes.
And then it was like, well, I'm going to be evil now. Hi.
There was a certain level of resistance, meaning, as we said, his downfall was gradual. There was a certain part where he was pulling back and forth, but he gave in awfully quick. He was like, oh, all right, I'm destined to be evil. But the thing that I found fascinating about, you're talking about his backstory, is in our car, there were several debates of
what was the actual backstory.
What actually happened?
And that goes to my point about lingering questions that you have through the screenplay. If you're going to be telling a movie for kids, unless it's specifically targeted towards the latter teens, in movies like this with such a broad audience, you may need to leave the dots a little closer together. And I felt like Frozen did that so well. Frozen was able to take complex topics like emotional abuse, abandonment, and parental expectations and put them close together without insulting the audience. This feels so far away that you're starting to wonder who the audience is for this film.
That's a great question. I go back and forth because I do think, do kids need the dots close? 100% agree with that. They do. Do adults need dots closer? Sometimes, sure. But I would also say, do kids want the whole backstory? And I think growing up with movies like that, I think a lot of kids do. They actually do, versus, oh, let's just, save everybody in stars and talking goats. But to me, those were entertaining enough to keep the movie moving. It was reasonably short. It's a little over an hour and a half. Much longer than that, I don't know if I would want it to be longer just so they answer those questions.
But I feel like those questions would make a more solid movie. We talk a lot about Magnifico trying to put up a fight, basically saying, well, I feel like my citizens are being ungrateful.
Sure.
We see the very end of this. We don't see it build up. I think it would have made a more compelling and tragic arc for Magnifico if we had seen him slowly feel like he's just this wish-granting genie that happens to rule this kingdom.
I laugh because there was a statement where, once you turn evil, you're there forever, for eternity. And the first thought I thought, well, that's pretty hopeless. It's like, come on, people change in Disney, people change all the time. But the other part that grabbed me was I heard going, I'm like, sequel. I'm like, they're preparing for a sequel.
I did not feel that at all, oddly enough.
I did. I thought, oh, here we go. And if you don't like the first one, it's a bit disappointing.
I've had movies, though, where the sequel is better than the original.
Oh, 100%. And you may get the chance to comment on such things. Do we have any questions from the box?
Disney's really pushing this 100-year thing. They've been around for 100 years.
Really?
Do you think that 100 years is well represented here with all their 100 years experience?
I was hoping there would be more to it. This feels kind of like a tester reel in some ways. This is, hey, we can do this, not we've done this. Here's it coming in this format. I thought that maybe, other than these random winks and nods, at one point Asha's wearing a cloak that looks suspiciously like the fairy godmother from Cinderella.
Yes.
Other than these winks and nods, I saw very little evidence of these techniques being built upon, extrapolated, and reintegrated into a story that takes place today.
I would agree with that 100%. I saw nothing to that effect. Maybe you saw more than I did if I saw nothing. But the whole, as the box said, it's 100 years of Disney. The beginning, the end credits, and even if you stay to the very end to the end credits, it's more homage to Disney. It is pretty shameless at this point. It's like, wow, all right, 100 years, not knocking that.
There's even a hidden Mickey in the film.
Oh my God, yes. To me, it was like, oh, kill me now. I'm just kind of done with that part of it. Let's just focus on this movie versus goodwill for every other movie that you've done.
I felt like if it had been integrated more naturally, I would be less fussy about this.
Oh,
it just felt like, hey, kids, have you seen this? Well, now you have.
I did. That just bothered me. If you love Disney, it may be very endearing and sweet. And I don't hate Disney or anything, but it just didn't do anything for me. It didn't make me go, oh, I'm just like, oh, come on, just stick to your movie. Focus, people. Any other questions from the box?
There are a lot of new movies coming out this week and last week. Should people rush to the theater to see this, or should they maybe see something else, like Trolls Band Together?
Now you're just baiting me.
Loaded question from the box. Wow, the box is on tonight, I tell you.
Oh, well, gotta step somewhere. If you're going to see this movie, make it a midweek one. I feel like for the people that really love Disney, this is going to be a fun movie for you. For the rest of us that have a very certain image of Disney and certain expectations, you may be disappointed.
The Trolls question is so loaded.
Totally.
I loved the Trolls movie. It was fun. It was smart. There were chuckles for adults, for kids. And for a third movie in a series, it was really smart. This is the first movie in potentially Wish 1, 2, and 3. The Trolls, hands down, if it's which one do you want to go see, I would say that. I would say it would be worth a watch in my mind. It would be worth going.
The other thing I want to point out in Trolls is we kept mirroring things back to each other even after the days we'd seen the movie.
That's true. It was very memorable. And the music, obviously, the music is, in popular culture. However, hearing Justin Timberlake and Trolls singing it is a whole new experience.
Well, even some of the dialogue we were mirroring back to each other, some of it was just funny.
And I don't know that I want to go to a movie where I forget it in 2 days.
We have a film critic that we do watch as a family from time to time.
Sure.
And he has this saying that he'll forget it in T-1 day. I never thought I'd say this about a movie, but this is getting up there.
And this is what we get to find out. And to me, the one of the biggest sell points for this movie was it feels like a traditional fallback or a traditional throwback to back in the day of Disney movies. So there was that part to it. But beyond that, I had a really hard time connecting it to, as you said, remembering it, the music memorable. Like I said, granted, Little Mermaid was on repeat at our house for how many years?
Alan Menken is a freaking genius.
He's a genius. And clearly those movies are those songs are catchy and fun, but they're so memorable. And this one, I don't know that, even though I enjoyed it more than you, I don't know that I'm going to remember it or seek out buying a CD and listening to it again and again.
What I'd be really curious to see, I know Disney has been doing this more and often as the years have been going on, is turning their movies into stage plays. I feel like this is a good start for a musical. Maybe a couple more songs to, again, flesh out some of the characters and the supporting staff. But I feel like this is a good start in the right direction. Unfortunately, this entry is just not landing for me.
Let's talk about 5 Moths.
Oh, they're going to not like me today.
Oh my goodness. All right, 1 to 5. Let's
This is
talk.
a 2 Moth movie.
Ooh, all right. Number 1 reason for a 2 Moth rating.
It feels flat. It feels like a Disney movie that got put straight to DVD, unfortunately.
Who do you think might enjoy this movie?
This is for the Disney purists. These are the people that will not watch anything past, say, 1959 or so. These are the people that are stuck in what's considered classic Disney. You will love this movie. And I'm not saying that you will love this movie. I'm saying that because this meets a lot of needs that I see a lot of classic Disney purists yearn for.
All right, my 5 Moths are back. I'm laughing. You're giving it a 2, and I'm giving it a 3. So technically, we only needed 5 Moths for the whole show.
Wow.
Yeah,
Ew, that would have saved us so much money.
I would say it's above average. I really would. With the talent, the voice talent was there. Honestly, I'll probably be talking about the GOAT, Valentino, for a little while.
Valentino was pretty funny, but again, Alan Tudyk is really great about putting you in the mindset of a character and finding the humor within that character's perspective.
Absolutely. And to me, that makes that above average. The star said absolutely nothing, but was walking around knitting different creative pieces. Those were memorable to me.
I did like the fact that the star was nonverbal. I thought
that
that was kind
creative.
of cool because it allows you to create like a different thought process for the star. There's points where Asha says, "I know what you're thinking," and you can kind of almost imagine what the star's thinking at that point.
And I did like Asha. I did like her as a character.
She wasn't annoyingly quirky. Sometimes Disney has this habit of lapsing into too quirky to live.
Or too Pollyanna to exist. It's like, you're not going to make it out there. Don't leave your kingdom because it's not going to be pretty for you. I think for me, she fit a realistic piece, and she was smart. The women in this movie were smart, and I always appreciate that.
There's also some representation too. I thought it was really cool.
I would agree with that.
One of the main characters for Asha is one of her friends, and she actually does have mobility issues. So I thought that was kind of cool that they put that in there. And it was really cool because they didn't use that as her struggle. They didn't use that as her wish.
That's a good point.
I thought that was just here it is, take it as it is.
That's a good point. That's a great point. I stand by my 3.
I stand by mine too.
All right. Thanks for joining us this week. We're always excited to create experiences to bring our cinema community together.
Watch the notifications for our review of the new movie, Napoleon. Then come back to the channel this weekend for our weekly show, Movies and More, where we will have more movie reviews, the latest Hollywood news, and commentary with snark, meant to amuse.
Please remember to like, subscribe, and to share our channel.
If you enjoyed this movie review, you might click the link to check out our review of Trolls Band Together. Or click the other link to watch last week's show, where we reviewed Next Goal Wins.
Remember, cinema community movies are better together. Thanks for watching. See you in the next review.